Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanam Bhunaktu Sahaviryatarvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Jai Gurudev. So we were on the first shloka of chapter 4. Just one second. Knowledge and the renunciation of action. Yesterday we saw the origins of Karma Yoga. So, where Krishna talked about the subject matter of Karma Yoga in the first three verses of the fourth chapter, Krishna sums up the subject matter of Karma Yoga by indicating to Arjuna that it is not something new. Krishna, as the Lord, had initiated it in the beginning of creation, and since then, Karma Yoga has been handed down from generation to generation, even though it has not always been well preserved. To become a sannyasi requires a mature and contemplative disposition. You cannot simply decide to be mature or contemplative. Either you are or you are not. What you can do, however, is to live your life in such a way that you can gain a contemplative disposition. This is Karma Yoga. So one cannot just become a sannyasi. You require a specific qualification, and that is to have a say on your raga dveshas. So for that, you require to live a life of Karma Yoga to gain this contemplative disposition. It just doesn't happen like that. In order to gain self-knowledge, which is moksha or liberation, you have to recognize your nature as being free from action, naishkarmya, as that which is the very center of the entire creation, the reality of everything. So you need to come to that Advaita state. You have to recognize, once you recognize that you are Naishkarmya, you are not the doer, and that everything springs from you. You are the center of creation. And in order for this recognition to take place, you can live a life of sannyasa or a life of karma yoga. So this is ultimate knowledge, recognition that you are the center of creation, center of everything, reality of everything, and that you are free from action. In order to do this, you have two lifestyles. One, sannyasa or life of karma yoga. Karma yoga is engaging yourself in activities with a proper attitude. Pravritti Lakshana Yoga. And Sannyasa or Jnana Yoga is the renunciation of all activities. Nivritti Lakshana Sannyasa. Thus, Nivritti Lakshana Jnana Yoga is for the sannyasis and Pravritti Lakshana Yoga Karma Yoga is for everyone else. This twofold yoga is all that is intended to be unfolded throughout the Gita. In fact, Krishna had already completed the teaching in the second and third chapters. Knowing that he had taught all that had to be taught, Krishna now praises this yoga, telling Arjuna that what he had taught him was something very old, introduced by himself as Ishvara in the very beginning, meaning in the Veda. So it's going back to the roots of this knowledge. Knowledge does not have any root. It's wrong to say root because knowledge is what is. He's just going back in time. So from teacher to student, sampradaya. So we have two lifestyles in order to gain moksha, which is realizing that you are the non-doer and the state of actionlessness, where you are the center of all reality, of everything. So one is the pravritti lakshana yoga, which is karma yoga, doing action with the proper attitude. And then the other one is nivritti lakshana jnana yoga, which is sannyasa, giving up all activities, renouncing all activities to the exclusion of all else, and pursuing knowledge to the exclusion of all else. From teacher to student, sampradaya, in order to convey that this knowledge is something that is to be gained from a teacher by a student, who in turn hands it down to another student. A story is told. In understanding realities, it really does not matter who told whom. Nevertheless, certain names are mentioned. You cannot get the whole Guru Shishya Parampara over so many years, but some important names are mentioned. The flow downward from one generation to another is called Sampradaya. This Sampradaya is important because this teaching has to be handled by someone who knows what it is all about. So important. Otherwise, there can be so many interpretations, which is what happened to knowledge. Therefore, the Sampradaya is always introduced either in the beginning or at the end of the text, which is why a guru needs to be two qualifications. One is Shrotriya and Brahmanishta. Shrotriya is one who is well versed in the scriptures. Why is it important? So that the Sampradaya is handed down correctly and properly. Not everyone can endure the role of a teacher. You cannot go to any Tom, Dick, and Harry to learn this knowledge. So you must go to a guru who is Shrotriya and Brahmanishta, one who is established in Brahman or in the knowledge of Brahman. So the Sampradaya is introduced either in the beginning or at the end of the text. Seeing the dialogue reaching a certain completeness, Krishna presents the Sampradaya and praises the knowledge. Shri Bhagavanuvacha imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manurikshvakave bravit evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa. So we did the transliteration yesterday. Sri Bhagavan said, I taught this imperishable yoga to Vivaswan. Vivaswan taught it to Manu, and Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. Handed down from generation to generation in this way, the kings who were sages knew it. But with the long lapse of time, O Arjuna, this yoga has declined in the world. Here, Krishna tells Arjuna that he was the one who had introduced this knowledge in the Vedas in the beginning itself. meaning along with the creation through Vivaswan, the head of the solar clan, Surya Vamsha. There was also another clan, the lunar clan, Chandra Vamsha. The Mahabharata was an epic about the lunar clan, and the Ramayana was about the solar clan. Vivaswan also is a name given to the sun as a deity, the sun lord, the Lord Sun. Krishna is saying here that this knowledge has come down from Ishvara alone, referring to himself as the Lord. It is not something that is created by a given intellect, nor is it mere speculation. It is the knowledge that comes down from Ishvara, along with the creation itself. The difference between this knowledge and the other revealed bodies of knowledge is that it is something to be recognized. It is knowledge that I am the whole. Any other form of revelation requires you to believe something. Some kind of a promise is always given, if only with reference to an afterlife. So there's always the talk of heaven, Swarga. That is a promise. So you do certain acts, you will be given a seat in heaven. So that requires you to believe that there is something called Swarga, something called heaven. However, in the knowledge that I am the whole, there is no promise involved. Promise usually comes if you say you do something and then you will get this. But this knowledge that I am the whole is factual, is the truth. So it's not like you're giving them the carrot and saying, oh, you do this and you will get it. The statement, you are that Tattvamasi, is not a promise. That you are Brahman is a simple statement of fact, just as the statement, water is H2O and it boils at 100 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure, is a fact and not a promise. Because it is a statement of fact, you are Brahman is something that is to be understood. A statement of fact is verifiable knowledge. It is not something to be believed, as is the case in other forms of revealed bodies of knowledge. We must know, however, that these other revelations are also talking about the same reality. When Swamiji is talking here about other revealed bodies of knowledge, probably it means there are other religions. So they're talking about the same reality. Thus, there is no problem. It is all the Lord's knowledge. Because knowledge is not something that belongs to any one particular person or culture. We say that it is Ishvara's knowledge. This twofold yoga, sannyasa and karma yoga, was initiated by Krishna, that is Ishvara, in the beginning, through Vivaswan, the head of the solar clan. Therefore, he says, Vivasvate aham proktavan. Lord Sun is introduced here to convey the idea that this particular knowledge comes from Ishvara. Then, by the grace of Lord Sun, it was handed over to his son Manu, who was the first king, the lawgiver for humanity. Manu taught his own son Ikshvaku in turn. So Vivaswan belonged to the Surya Vamsha. Manu was his son, and his son Ikshvaku was the head of the Chandra Vamsha. Pretty interesting. One second. I don't know whether I'm right, whether Ikshvaku is not from the Chandra Vamsha. Ikshvaku is still in the Surya Vamsha. It has to be Surya Vamsha, right?
Yeah, because
I'm sorry,
Vivaswan and the
Ma-
Manu and Ikshvaku is,
correct. They're the same lineage.
yeah,
It's
Yadu or
Rama's lineage.
Yadu or somebody is in the
Surya,
Chandra.
sorry, Chandra Vamsha. Hmm.
Yeah.
Correct.
Uh, you remember he gets his young thing from his
Yeah,
son.
from Yayati. Hmm.
Yeah, and then the Santanu comes, and
Correct.
then comes Dhritarashtra and all that.
Yeah, yeah, correct. You're right. So so Ikshvaku is in the lineage of the Surya Vamsha. Vivaswan, Manu, Ikshvaku. That is the lineage. So Sampradaya is that which is handed down through generations. This knowledge is handed down through generations, right? Self knowledge does not go away. And what kind of yoga is it? This yoga, this knowledge is Avyaya Yoga because it gives you that which does not die, meaning moksha, liberation. Moksha is the only thing that does not go away because it is identical with the Atma, which is eternal. It is knowledge of the Atma. Moksha gained is gained forever. In his commentary on this verse, Shankara says that this moksha, the result of this yoga, is in the form of clear vision of the Atma, samyak darshana nishtha, for which there is no death, vyaya at all. Once the knowledge is gained, it is gained. This moksha is not something from which you come back, like the experience of nirvikalpa samadhi, because with this knowledge, the jivatva, the notion of being a limited individual is destroyed. Once gained, there is no coming back, which is why the knowledge is called avyaya. So this is eternal. If you remember when Swamiji was talking about Atma Anatma, it is the isness. If you keep teasing down any object for that matter, or even a human being, that isness is what remains. For instance, there is a cloth. What is the cause of the cloth? Cotton. And what is the cotton? You go on and on when you keep breaking it down to atoms and molecules and atoms and all the subatomic particles and the wave particles, all that. Finally, what remains is that isness. That is why this moksha is eternal. It is that which is free from death, that which does not die. So all these are synonymous. We know that, right? Moksha, Atma, Brahman, Satchit, Ananda, all these are talking about the same eternal nature. So therefore, once you get this knowledge, the result of this yoga is in the form of clear vision, samyak darshana atma, samyak darshana nishtha, for which there is no death, vyaya at all. So once gained, the jivatva, the notion of being a limited individual, is destroyed. It's very, um, it was a beautiful conversation I had. Someone just called me out of the blue 2 days back, a young boy, young lad, out of the blue, I got this call. And then he was talking about him. he it was so beautiful the way he shared his experiences. He said, I've been pursuing knowledge and not really knowledge. He says, I want to know who I am, my true nature. And he's all a lad of about 23 years old. And he said, I've had this experience. I've had this a feeling of energy moving from the the base of the spine right up to the top of my head. And now I feel there is some, there is some static electricity I'm generating from my ears and the head. So he wanted some guidance. He says, I have realized myself. So that is when I had to, I was able to, in my small capacity, tell him that this is an experience. He says, no, I want to be loving. I want to be, I want to stay in that nature. That's when I was able to tell him that, and thanks to these learnings that Shravana that we're doing right now, said that what you've experienced is just a state of samadhi, and you're back again to your normal state. So what you require is a guru. So I directed him to a guru. I said, you require someone who can guide you. This is not some journey that you can undertake on your own. You require exposure to knowledge. So that was a very interesting conversation that happened 2 days ago. And this is exactly what his problem was. He wanted to come out of this jivatva, the notion of being a limited individual. So that happens when you gain this knowledge, when you recognize it. And then I was able to tell him also that what Gurudev says about enlightenment. A person who's enlightened will not proclaim it, will not say it. And one who says it is not enlightened. So I had to actually bring him down to a little bit of ground reality. And he was not keen on listening to theory. He says, no, I don't want theory. I want something practical. I said, but then it is only through Shabda. It's only through words that you will attain this knowledge. Ultimately, you will drop the words also. But then it is only through Shabda Pramana that you can recognize your true nature. I know that was a little deviation, but it was so in sync with what was being read. So I wanted to share
Nice.
this.
So he probably had that energy moving from one chakra
Yeah,
to the other
right.
chakra, like as they doing
Yeah.
sadhana, right? And
Mm,
then you feel like your really uh,
mm,
mind seem to be clear and calm, and
correct.
compared to normally you are like,
So you see, when you
yeah.
look back, he's only a
Mm,
man, a young chap of about 23 years old,
yeah,
has had some sadhana he did in his previous life, previous
right.
janma,
Mm,
which has catapulted him to such a state. Not many children, not many young adults at that age would be thinking, contemplating of the self, and he's already in that state. And he says that it's an intense desire. It's there for
yeah,
me, and I just want to pursue this. I don't want anything else.
true.
So,
Yeah, even when you're doing this yoga, the breathing exercise, and when you're keeping your hands facing up, you
mm,
feel like something is moving in the hands, like
right. You become sensitive, you become aware of all the knowledge, the energy flow. So,
like you can, if you pointing your fingers within both hands,
mm,
you can actually like pull some kind of electric magnetic field like kind of feeling, like that you
mm.
kind of able to keep it within your hand like a ball. And it happens, when you really do like sadhana. Hmm. So then, yeah, nice.
So we'll move on. So, because of this knowledge alone, Shankara says that kings like Janaka were able to perform. So, we read up until here yesterday. So, in the second verse, addressing Arjuna as Parantapa, the destroyer of enemies, Krishna says, in this way, the knowledge has been coming down through the families of kings, as well as through the families of sages, rishis. Thus, there are two types of flow through which this knowledge is transmitted from one generation to the other. Because of this knowledge alone, Shankara says that kings like Janaka were able to perform their duties well without abusing the royal powers entrusted to them. Power and understanding should go together, along with a certain contentment. The more powerful a person is, the more informed he or she should be. Otherwise, those who come within his or her realm have had it. Thus, this knowledge was introduced by Ishvara to give the kings the strength, bala adhanaya, needed to rule the world properly, there being no greater strength than the Atma Bala, that is, the strength of understanding oneself. So basically, there were two streams. One was through the sages and rishis, as well as through kings. So this knowledge has been coming down through the families of kings as well as through families of sages and rishis. Because a person in power needs to have knowledge as well as a certain contentment. They should go together. This is exactly what we're seeing. This is the opposite of what we're seeing right now, causing the world um, come to a state it is right now. So there is no contentment. That is why there is this Alexander tendency. I want to invade, I want to get. That greed is there. So power and understanding should go together along with a certain contentment. Not only the heads of royal families had this knowledge and passed it down from father to son, but also the sages living in the forest also had it. They taught it to their students, who in turn taught it to their students through the generations. Krishna could see the wonder in Arjuna's eyes as he was unfolding this knowledge to him. It was as though Arjuna was asking, how is it that I did not know this before? Why did I not receive this knowledge while I was growing up? I was taught archery. I was taught what is right and wrong. But this I was not taught. Why? When a person hears this knowledge for the first time, he or she often expresses the same wonder. How could I have missed something so obvious? Although great sages like Vyasa and Shuka lived in Arjuna's time, this knowledge that Krishna had given to Arjuna was not readily available. Since only a few people knew of it, it was as though it was lost. It was as though, just mark those words, right? Because initially, I think all of us must have had the doubt. How come it got lost and how come it's revived again? So, since only a few people knew it was as though it was lost. Everyone else was busy with other things. In other words, the Duryodhanas of the world were too numerous and people had no time for the knowledge. So this is the Rishi Rina that we have to we have to fulfill. Just give me just 1 second. I'll be back. So Duryodhanas of the world were too numerous and people had no time for the knowledge. This is why Krishna tells Arjuna that although this knowledge sounded new and strange to him, there was nothing new or strange about it. It has been around since the beginning, the same good old wisdom, and I'm merely presenting it to you today as it has always been. It seems strange to you only because you have not yet had the occasion to listen to it. Krishna anticipates that Arjuna's next question would be, why did you choose to teach me today and not before? Therefore, he says, so should we go ahead to the next verse? Anything to be repeated here?
So, what is the previous two paragraph? You can just summarize it, Dr. Ram.
Yeah.
I
So
missed.
basically, it is that um, this
Pala.
knowledge,
Uh-huh.
this knowledge was handed down both through kings as well as through rishis. It came down.
Mm,
Examples were King Janaka. So it's not enough if you have the power to rule. You should also have
mm,
understanding.
mm,
Understanding as well as a sense of contentment. Otherwise, they will not be able to fulfill their royal duties to the
mm.
best of ability, to perform duties well. So this knowledge was introduced by Ishvara to give the kings the strength, bala adhanaya, needed to rule the world properly. There being no greater strength than the Atma Bala, that is the strength of understanding oneself. So when we have this Atma Bala, when one is rooted in this, then it is a matter of live and let live, right? It is harmonious. The whole beautiful society is harmonious. There is no aspect of, none of the negative tendencies will show up of desire, greed, anger, jealousy. And this is how the Vedic societies used to live.
Yeah, I wonder all these people, this world leaders should read Gita.
I know, really.
It would be I was thinking all this time about Mahatma Gandhiji, he did all that thing non-violence way. He didn't try to, even then, there are a lot of bloodshed, but without that kind of thing, it would have been another war, in India, right? But he did Gita. He read Gita and understood. So all this, at least, I don't know. I mean, some of them, because they quote the Gita in their um, biography or somewhere in the books. So at least they all had that dharma, in their mind. Hopefully, they uh, something like this understand what dharma is
Yeah, not just understand what dharma is.
and
That
do
is
it.
basic. That is the
Yeah, that's
basic
a
they
basic
need.
thing. Yeah.
Beyond dharma, also Atma Jnana,
No, no, right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it will
I
not just
mean,
stop with dharma,
yeah,
they also have Atma Jnana. So not only the heads of royal families had this knowledge and
yeah.
passed it down from father to son, but also the sages living in the forest had it. They
Yeah,
taught
that
it.
basic dharma is also lost nowadays, right? I mean,
Correct, correct.
that is, they don't even have the basic understanding where they're going to have this,
Yeah.
but bigger understanding of things. But none of the, like you said, not only Gita and the other religious books also say the same thing: love each other and
Mm.
have peace and harmony. But hope it stays that way. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to hear that.
No,
But
no, no. That's
when
right. I
I
mean,
when I
the
heard
limit.
this, yeah, that why the kings has to know this knowledge, right? Because they are all have that strength to fight and That's their dharma, right? Like to protect and lead the country. But along with that, they have this Atmajnana. It helps them to uh, think even better, I think, better ruling the country. Like King Janaka, and he gave it to his, I don't remember that which son is, he didn't have son, right, Janaka. But the Janamejaya, all these people, like they're at least trying to find what is,
But correct what you said that
yeah.
yeah, please go on, Dr. Mara. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, no, no. I just thought why the kings had to have this knowledge,
Mhm.
right? Like some people had the interest, like the Vishwamitra and all. He was a king, but then he turned into Rishi to, attain these things. But Atmajnana is for everybody, right? Including devas, rishis, or everybody, like all the
Yeah.
human beings.
See,
So yeah,
King Janaka did not have a son. If we look at the Sampradaya, did he hand it over to his younger
yeah.
generation? But
Mm,
Yadyadacharati Shrestha Tatta Devetaro Janah. So whoever the person,
mm,
Yata Raja Tatha Praja is also there. So he was an exemplary king in
mm,
that he had this Atmajnana and his subjects followed him. So that is also
mm.
tantamount, passing down the Sampradaya.
Right.
So when a person hears this knowledge for the first time, he may wonder, saying, how could I have missed something so obvious?
Mm,
Isn't it?
right.
They may be, when you're exposed, it is actually very, very simple, this knowledge. In the sense, it is supposedly obvious. It is, the whole knowledge is about you.
Right.
But then
Nobody talks about it.
no one talks about, oh, no one
Yeah.
is ready to listen to it. There are more Duryodhanas
Right.
and then they're so occupied in the samsara that there is no time for this. So that is why it is as though lost. Since
Yeah.
only a few people knew of it, it was as though it was lost.
Yeah. As much as I mean, with the technology, being available in all fields, as much as this external, social platform and other things out there, equally, all these spiritual things also there, right? Then it becomes your choice to make,
Correct.
whether you want to do this and you want to do the other one.
Mhm.
But people take the other route because it's easier, and you don't, you just time pass, and
Convenience versus commitment.
convenient, yeah, and then they don't really need to work hard to hear,
And
yeah.
which is true. And in
Yeah.
order to do that, you not only
Mm,
require, you're laying down your own blueprint. Like
mm,
this little boy, 23-year-old,
right,
he had laid his blueprint in the previous Janma, probably. That
right,
is why he was able to say no to so many other things that most boys his age would do
yeah,
and stick on to this path.
right. It's
Yeah, so
so,
the samskaras are important. What we lay down, what we
mm,
do today will determine what our tomorrow is going to be.
right,
What samskaras we add today, which is why that it's very relevant, the sadhana panchakam that
mm,
Shankaracharya has put down.
yeah,
Those beautiful 32 steps, 32 different things in five
mm,
shlokas.
right,
So Veda Nityamadhiyatam. That was the first thing.
mm,
Study the Vedas every day,
every
daily.
day. Mm,
So that's your commitment. You should just go ahead and do it. Then it will put you back on track. It'll bring in all that. When one you follow one, then all the others will also start coming in.
mm,
It's again very funny,
mm,
coincidental that there was this Russian who came over to
mm,
do her long kriya first time. Out of the
mm,
blue, again, she called about a few days back and she said, I want to do the long kriya. So it
mm,
so happened, I'll just give you in a nutshell how samskaras are important.
mm,
She did the course sometime in Dubai when she was there, and
mm,
she's been here. She just wanted to do experience the long kriya again.
mm,
So it so happened she came over yesterday and did it.
mm,
She has gone to Varanasi and she
mm,
was called by the Aghoris, which is a very rare thing. I mean, to even
mm,
see an Aghori, they invited her to do some pujas and things like that for over 5 days.
mm,
She has had so much of samskara. She's
mm,
gone to the ashram, she's gone to the Bangalore ashram several times, met up
mm,
and did a lot of homas. Her
mm.
go-to is Hanuman and Ganapati. So
Oh,
just imagine, she's what? She's a Russian. She's a
mm,
lawyer by profession. But
wow.
this is her wealth of samskaras.
Mm, yeah. So she
So
been doing
not
for a
many
while.
Indians, not many Hindus may know all of this, may have done all of this.
Right,
But she has, so you may be born in any corner of the world.
right,
If your samskaras are there, they will guide you through to on this path, which is why Krishna tells him any amount of sadhana done on this path is
mm,
not going to go waste.
right,
You will pick up the thread from there and carry it forward.
mm, nice.
So these were two interesting anecdotes that happened in the last few days. So
Yeah,
this is,
that's
yeah, this is why Krishna tells Arjuna that although this knowledge sounded new and strange to him, there was nothing new or strange about it. It has been around since the beginning, the same old wisdom, and I'm merely presenting it to you today as it has always been. It seems strange to you only because you have not yet had the occasion to listen to it. So humble Krishna is. He says, this has already been there. I'm just telling it to you. It's not something new. It is not Krishna Uvacha. It is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Krishna anticipates that Arjuna's next question would be, why did you choose to teach me today and not before? Therefore, he says, Sa evayam maya teja te yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. So may my bhaktaha, devotee, sakha, friend, cha and asi, you are, iti, therefore, maya, by me, saha eva ayam, that same, puratanaha, ancient, yoga, yoga, adya, today, te, to you, proktaha, has been told. He, indeed, etat, this uttamam, profound, rahasyam, secret. So, me bhaktah sakha cha asi iti maya saha evam ayam puratanaha yogaha adya te proktaha hi etat uttamam rahasyam. Today, that same ancient yoga has been told to you by me because you are my devotee and my friend. This is indeed a profound secret. Krishna did not talk about this until and unless Arjuna surrendered to him, saying, Shishyasteham Shadimam Twam Prapannam. So, because he was his devotee and his friend, he has told him this profound secret. The vision of the Veda is that you are Param Brahma and you are the cause of the whole creation. You are not a created being because all of this is also said in the Gita. The Gita is said to be the essence of the Veda. Gaining this knowledge is the sole destiny of human life. Until one has this knowledge, one is bound to a life of samsara, pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow, birth and death. So I'll repeat this para again. The vision of the Veda is that you are Param Brahma and you are the cause of the whole creation. You are not a created being. So when we say you, it is not the Stula Sukshma Sharira, but it is you, the Atma. Atma is not created. Because all of this is also said in the Gita, the Gita is said to be the essence of the Veda. What is Gita? Sarvopanishado Gavo. So from all the Upanishads, the gist and the essence and the nectar of all the Upanishads, gaining this knowledge is the sole destiny of human life. Until one has this knowledge, one is bound to a life of samsara, pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow, birth and death. So basically, we are bound to the life pairs of opposites. We don't become dvandvatitaha. We are dvandva baddhaha. The Veda, true to its vision, gives you a twofold way, marga, to accomplish this destination. The destination is gaining the knowledge of the self, being Brahman, a knowledge that is unlike any other knowledge. All knowledge requires a certain preparedness. For the knowledge of oneself, one requires emotional maturity. Mere intellectual accomplishment is not enough for a person to be emotionally mature. For example, the greatest scientist in any discipline of knowledge can be emotionally immature. This person may feel that he or she is not at all respected, not recognized by peers and other members of the society. Such a person can have a lot of regrets and become quite desperate. On the other hand, one may be mature and not be intellectually accomplished. When one is able to live with oneself happily, relatively happily, and when one is naturally contemplative, one's maturity has attained a certain completeness. For such a person, a life of sannyasa, renunciation, is advocated by the Veda, wherein the person is formally and completely released from all previously enjoined duties. The Veda that enjoins various duties also releases you from all of them, providing you with the sanction to live a life of a renunciate, so that you can pursue knowledge of the self to the exclusion of every other thing. Or if you need to gain this inner maturity, you can live a life of karma yoga, pursuing the same self-knowledge that the sannyasi pursues. This is the essence of all the Vedas. When the word yoga is used in the Gita, it refers to jnana yoga for a sannyasi and karma yoga for one who is not a sannyasi. Both of these include the pursuit of self-knowledge. Although this knowledge remains in the royal families and with the sages, the people do not necessarily receive it. This point is addressed by Shankara in his introduction to this verse. He says that the knowledge is as though lost when it reaches people whose minds are scattered. Durbalan ajitendriyan prapya nashtam yogam. Thus it is lost, nashta, due to the condition of the people, not because it is not available. It reaches people who have no inner strength, durbalaha, people who are not together, whose minds are scattered, ajitendriyaha. Reaching such people, this yoga also gets scattered, meaning that the knowledge has no hold on them. Therefore, It is as though lost. In this verse, Krishna acknowledges that this knowledge had always existed when he uses the expression sa eva, meaning that yoga alone, that knowledge alone, the twofold knowledge that is never new, puratana. No knowledge is ever new. It is always ancient, perennially eternal. Whatever is discovered may seem new, but in fact, it has always been there. It seems new because no one knew of it before. For example, if we did not always know that the sun does not move relative to the earth. Even so, the earth has always traveled around the sun, and the sun has always been stationary relative to the earth. This is a fact that always remains a fact, whether it is known or not. In the same way, this knowledge is something that is puratana, never new, ancient. Knowledge is always as true as the object is. If the Atma is eternal, then knowledge of Atma is equally eternal. Nothing new is created here. The yoga, the knowledge, which was initiated by Krishna in the beginning, is eternal, perennially eternal, puratanaha. I know we'll need to read this one more time. I think we'll stop here. We'll do two types of eternity later. Um, do you want to just share your understanding, or you want me to repeat some of these? So
Can
basically,
you repeat? I mean, yeah, you can
the
summarize it
shloka.
if you have,
Sa
but the
eva,
last few pages we couldn't understand.
okay.
Yeah.
Sa evayam maya tedya yoga proktah puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam yetaduttamam. So, in anticipation of Arjuna's question, although Arjuna did not express it, Krishna anticipates that he might ask, how come you're telling me this knowledge today and not before? So he goes on to say that the same ancient knowledge is being told by me today to you because you are my devotee and my friend. And this profound secret is being told to you today. So what is the import of this is that we have to approach, we need to surrender, we also become Arjunas in order to gain this knowledge. We cannot come here with a full bowl. We need to empty our bowl. You cannot say, oh, I know, I want to know more, or I know, I'm curious to know. It is not curiosity, but it is devotion that brings us to this knowledge. Otherwise, we'll remain as Duryodhanas, caught up in the world of duality. So, having recognized that Shreyas is what I want moksha, I want liberation, I want freedom from all of this. So, that attitude is important to gain, to even get exposed to this knowledge. So, Veda talks of Param Brahma and says that Tattvam Asi, you are that. You are not a created being. And Gita is therefore a gist of all of this, gist of all the Upanishads, of all the Veda, because this is what the Gita talks of. So, gaining this knowledge is the sole destiny of human life. It's the ultimate purpose of human life. It's not to just eat, sleep, make merry, and die one day. So, to get out of the dualities, joy, sorrow, pain, pleasure, death, life, birth, and death. So, in order to lay this out, Veda has two margas to accomplish this. One is that of sannyasa, and the other is of karma yoga. So all knowledge requires a bit of preparedness. You require a certain amount of emotional maturity. It's not enough if you're intellectually intelligent. Like a scientist, example given was that of a scientist. He may be intellectually very highly evolved, but emotionally, he might still be lacking. He might still come from the space of I'm a limited being. I need recognition. No one is recognizing me. No one is respecting me. So he's still coming from that sense of lack, sense of limitation. So, such a person, although he's intellectually evolved, he is not emotionally evolved. Therefore, exposure to this knowledge, saying you are that, you are complete, you are not, you are free from limitations. You don't need to seek validation. You are that. So, when one is able to live with oneself happily and when one is naturally contemplative, then such a person is eligible to take on to the path of sannyasa, life of sannyasa. Whereas all the others who require to develop this inner maturity require are given the life of karma yoga. The life of karma yoga is for the rest of them. But bottom line is both of them pursue self knowledge. And how was this as though lost, although this was given to both kings and sages, it ran in the families, is because if it is this knowledge goes to Durbalan Ajitendriyan Prapya Nashtam Yogam. So when this reaches people whose minds are scattered, they do not have that Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. They don't have that one pointed nature of pursuing this knowledge. It is as though lost. And then he says that this knowledge, Puratana, is never new. It is ancient. It's been there from the very beginning. It's like this knowledge is there. You don't know if you are not exposed to the knowledge that the earth revolves around the sun and not the sun moving around the earth. It does not mean the sun moves. The sun always remains relatively stationary to earth. It is the earth that moves. That fact does not change. So that knowledge remains. It is that you have not understood it properly, right? So therefore, this knowledge is Puratana, never new, ancient. So if Atma is eternal, the knowledge of Atma is also eternal. So we'll look at the two types of eternity tomorrow. Should we stop here today? Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Very good. Thank you.